Wrestling Show. I'm the big beefy boy, Shaz Beef. Oosh. And today I'm joined by Johnny the Beast Mortos.
I don't want any poses yet.
Yeah. Now you can do the oosh if you want.
No, I won't. I'll pop something.
My missus absolutely hates that. Every time that I'm sitting there watching it and she hears the oosh, she like, I believe they call it the ick nowadays.
Maybe I get a bit of an ick off it as well when I'm sitting between the two of you, because it's at both sides and it's kind of uncomfortable.
It is. It's a powerful thing.
At least you have your tops on
for now.
Mostly
for now, yeah. No pants.
Neither of us are wearing pants right now, just in case.
Yeah. Have you been enjoying your wrestling?
Have I been enjoying? I've been really, really enjoying AEW. WWE less so. It's patchy.
They're trying to change stuff though. Like there was a lot of movement around the whole purported, they're changing up creative and shaking up creative, and then you get like the Wyatt Six against the MFTs, and
that was cool. There was one I think I messaged all of you. And I was like, just watching episode of SmackDown there was actually really good, which is such a rarity these days. But it just seemed like they were mixing up a lot of things like Wyatt Six and MFTs. Is like how long are we into the Wyatt Six been back? Like nearly over a year.
Yeah,
and like. Initially, I mean, so much of the promise that was held there was like them going up against a load of other factions.
It's the Wyatt family, like once again. Go check out our Bret Wyatt documentary.
It is, and the joy of the Wyatt family as well was it was mostly the Shield, but no, they went up against some other factions as well, and like. That's what you want to see when it comes to you want to see faction warfare.
Yeah, you want to see Los Boricos against DOA.
Yeah. And the Nation, and
DX.
Like in fairness, like the late 90s was a great time in WWE, WWF for factions. Probably the golden age of factions. In fact, now a lot of them were not really great, but it still made such compelling television.
I love the oddities.
I fucking love the oddities. I've such a soft spot for the oddities.
Yeah. And John Tenta as Golga, which I only found out like 5 years ago.
The oddities is on paper not a great wrestling gimmick, but actually was a fantastic wrestling gimmick, because what they went for this kind of idea. It's a little bit archaic, but it's like carnival freak shows from the 30s, 40s, stuff that's not essentially PC now. But they gave it a really cool kind of. It's not even pre-Juggalo, because the Insane Clown Posse were part of the oddities, but it did have that like Juggalo energy to it. Luna Vachon was the manager. Just a couple of like oddly shaped wrestlers.
Banging theme song.
When we get around to the theme song episode, that will probably be my top 10. One of the best.
I can't stop listening to it.
It's so good. And like there was so much legs in them as well. I know like they weren't great in the ring, apart from like Tenta was carrying the load.
But do you add a worker to that to make it work?
He was the worker they added to that. I mean, otherwise you've got Giant Silva and Kurgan. Also, Luna was a great worker, but she was not terribly well utilized in the late 90s as a worker. But Luna's just great in any incarnation. They were cool. I know I've said it a million times before. Them with some kind of cool version of being led by Evil Doink, or maybe laterally if Kazarni hadn't shit the bed two performances into his SmackDown career.
Actually, Kazarni wasn't like too long after, was
Kazarni
it?
again.
Years?
Kazarni was about 6 years after the oddities.
That's what I'm saying. It's not too long.
But again, like it's this lineage of circus performers, freak show performers, carnival performers that fit really well into the wrestling landscape, and I think, different permutations of that gimmick. I think the Wyatt Six are actually kind of like a version of that now. They got the funny masks. They don't dance, but they're
unfortunately.
Yes. But they're suitably ominous, and they do kind of have the cultish element of the previous incarnation of the Wyatt family, but then they've also got like the Firefly Funhouse vibe, which is fucked up kids TV show, so it's an interesting mix. It hasn't found its footing entirely. Flashes of promise, but things are looking good now.
I think that's a good jumping off point for today's topic.
Shit gimmicks.
The
shittest gimmicks that we can possibly conjure up.
What are the parameters? There are no fucking parameters.
Parameters that we talk about, the shittest gimmicks that ever happened. The ones that were not only destined to fail, but failed. Or ones that were like maybe given pushes that they shouldn't have been, but were obviously destined to fail.
Can we talk about impersonators?
Yeah, go on. Like this is one of those things where I'm like, oh fuck, I really, really hate this in wrestling.
But like it's worked for people. Like when
you
like Honky Tonk Man, he impersonates
Elvis.
Oh,
sorry, okay.
Are you talking about guys who impersonate other wrestlers?
I thought you meant like the glut of guys who impersonate other wrestlers, which
like
was
Damien Sandow,
a Vince McMahon staple that was given to Damien Sandow, Curtis Axel, Stevie Richards, Charlie Haas,
Big Show for a while.
Big Show.
Okay, how do you give Big Show a fucking
But this
gimmick
is a
like
thing,
that?
okay? And like, I know we're going to be doing an episode about booking and bookers soon. But also, I feel like, you know, one thing that we'll talk about with the art of booking, I guess, is the idea that like you have to be, particularly in the TV era, as it has been for the last 70 years, you can't repeat fucking things. But for whatever reason, one of the very few things that Vince McMahon constantly recycled was a wrestler who will just impersonate other wrestlers. Honky Tonk Man is outside of that. That was a impersonator gimmick. But
Yeah. Sting as the Crow, it was like pretty much, it was a blatant rip-off.
We started off the shit gimmicks conversation talking about two deadly gimmicks.
But all right, let's go back to the impersonation gimmick, because this is quite similar in the same vein, but it's not necessarily what they were trying. So Vince obviously owns the IP of Diesel and Razor Ramon.
This is you're starting off with a real like heavy hitter.
I think that's
of a fucking stinker. Like.
I think it's a really interesting prospect, because I look back over my little Hulk Hogan video after he passed away, and it was like there's only ever going to be one Hulk Hogan. You know, there can be fucking infinite amount of Supermen and Batman, because people can always reprise that character. But in wrestling, you can never really reprise the character. Hayabusa or whatever, you know, guys under mask. But like Hulk Hogan will only ever be one. And you're kind of like, why can't you recast in wrestling?
You can't. You simply can't. I think you can do something. You can do it where the performers are the actual personalities of the people playing them are so concealed by the gimmick. That's why you can do a Hayabusa. You can do it with Tiger Mask. I would go as far as to say, you know, you can do it with... You could do it with Doink. It's been done with Doink. I do think a Doink... I'm going on about Doink so fucking much again.
But is that mainly because their face is covered, though? I
think so, but I think also you find you cast the right person. It can't just be anyone. We saw that with the bad Doinks. You can't... Like, Ray Apollo was a fucking awful Doink. I hope he's not fucking sitting somewhere in his apartment in New York or something fucking
going, hey,
listen, he's got really sad about it, and I feel bad. I would feel bad, Ray. I'm sorry. You weren't an awful Doink, but you were good to the kids. But in terms of where that gimmick was with,
you just fucking love Doink.
Just in a shout out to Ray Apollo. I fucking love Doink.
Well, look, Daivari and Ricochet are looking at her shit.
I loved. Are they actually?
Yeah. Well, they're liking it anyway.
Hello, Ricochet
and Daivari.
It was Arya, is it?
Yeah, not Sean.
Okay. Disappointed. But no, like with the right performer, it can't just be anyone. Like Suicide's been done a lot of time. That was like TNA's one.
It's again face covered.
I'm sure fucking Tony Khan has just got like he's put some shares into a Mexican orphanage and he's got loads of people on tap waiting to play hologram for the next 40 years. Like we've already got El Clon.
Well, like Mexico do it anyway. Like
they do it all the time, and it's part of
the
you can't do it with a guy. Like the idea is like when Hulk Hogan came into, you know, fucking AWA and Japan and WWF. The idea was, here is a guy called Hulk Hogan. It's I know we're not like a complete kayfabe era, but like they're generally presented as people. I think a masked character is different, like La Parka and the Suicides.
The mystique of them.
But yeah, because you don't see the face of a person. And but what's crucial there is that like you got to do two things. You got to like be able to channel what people expect from a character. And you also got to do something that works for the age that it's presented in. And I think that also goes for your Batmans and your Supermans and your superheroes and all of these franchisable characters that, you know, get brought back time and time again. But case in point, you know, like some people are so attached to the actual person that it's very hard to get around that. We saw it with Han Solo. Like...
Yeah.
It's like nobody wanted a Han Solo that wasn't Harrison Ford, and they picked the right guy. Like I mean, like
same with the new Dexter,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's an Irish guy, isn't it?
He's fucking fantastic. He plays him really well, but
the problem is that he's not Michael Hall. In the same way, like Alden Ehrenreich is a fucking fantastic actor. He was a really good Han Solo, but he ultimately wasn't Harrison Ford. this happens, you know. I mean, it happens with fucking football managers as well.
You know what's an interest before we get into like the really shit, fucking horrendous stuff. What's really interesting is I read in Fighting Spirit magazine, they were like, how interesting would it be if a character was conceptualized and then put out for auditions, as opposed to, oh, here's Droz. What do? You puke. You're gonna be puke. He's gonna puke. Like,
but that was more like what Vince McMahon used to do was he would bring people in for their interviews, and he would go, "What are you into? What do you do?" And you know, people say different things. You know, like Steve Kern goes in and he's like, "On my spare time," he's like, "Oh yeah, I go alligator hunting."
So he becomes Skinner.
You got Skinner. You know, and then obviously like Darren Drozdov is someone who's like, well, you know, what tricks do you have up your sleeve? I can puke on demand. Your puke. So people like Vince would cast people based on a lot of their real life interests, hobbies, what they could do. I mean,
tributes.
Yeah, you know, I mean that's. And that was his way of kind of trying to create a unique character, but also kind of what. You know, and I had more fucking hits, more misses than I had hits. But at least with Vince, he's also going in a real recognition of this from Vince McMahon. But he's going, actually, like, if this is rooted in you, you can bring a lot of authenticity to this. Vince was never one that was great for authenticity, but he did like it in those types of gimmicks. He did like the fact that, like, I don't know, Mark Canterbury did a bit of time on a fucking pig farm, and that Duke Drozy was actually a fucking not a paedophile, but which he is, but a bin man. Yeah, you know. So everybody kind of. Everybody that went through that rigmarole with Vince, people would be going in like shitting it about the things that they liked and how he might manipulate that into a terrible gimmick. But there are some good gimmicks that probably came out of that as well, you know. But the box of drawers was another. It's not box of drawers. Vince's box of underwear.
Brock Lesnar's underwear.
Vince's drawer with his box of gimmicks, because he did have a lot of those pre-patterned
like
gimmicks.
Wasn't Taker kind of in one of those?
Taker was there for a couple of years, and he was like, I'm going to have a wrestling Undertaker. Goldust was a thing that was considered, was there in the box of drawers.
Austin?
He did consider Austin, and he considered, I think, there was someone, Shane Douglas as well. Shane Douglas, now that was a guy who went in for that interview and was like, what do you do? Or, well, he's like, I used to be a teacher, and straight away.
But like the likes of like the shit gimmicks. I read Chris Jericho's book, and they were like, they're looking to bring in like a few kind of enhancement guys, and that's when we got like the Tracy Smothers and the Goon. And the Goon was originally meant to be Chris Jericho, but they just cast.
Yeah, well, Jericho dodged a bullet there, because Jericho would not have had the career that he had. That idea was way better suited, and that was one of the few good ideas that really came out of like the absolute sheer like low, like that is 1995 is probably the low point of WWF business wise and creatively 2019. I don't think there's anything that's fucking worse than that, but at least the business was booming. 1995 was terrible, but they did bring in all these guys, and the Goon gimmick, which is a wrestling hockey player. This is about a year or two after we had fucking Abe Knuckleball Schwartz,
who was a wrestling baseball player.
He was played by Steve Lombardi, who was the Brooklyn Brawler, and Kimchi and a Doink at various intervals. These kind of sports adjacent gimmicks never really took off. But like, at least the Goon gimmick went to fucking Wild Bill Irwin, who was on the tail end of his career, rather than up and coming fucking
Chris Jericho,
who would have been saddled with that at the age of 25, and it would have nuked probably fucking what we saw from his career subsequently. But one of the few younger wrestlers, there was a couple of young wrestlers that were brought in that mix. It was kind of veterans. It was like Tony Anthony, who came in, he's like, oh yeah, I used to work as a plumber.
For TL Hopper.
And he's fucked it. We get TL Hopper, the wrestling plumber, who I kind of have a bit of a soft spot for.
Really?
He did a great job in my Jacks.
I was watching a match of him there recently against Duke the Dumpster.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, that was
a bin man against a plumber.
Yeah, that was Duke the Dumpster's last match before he went out. There was elements of TL Hopper I kind of like. I like the idea of like putting the plunger on the opponent's face.
Yeah.
when he,
Well, Vince sold that like a motherfucker on commentary.
Did. And I really love that they lean so hard into like Vince being so disgusted that you could always see the crack of his arse.
Yeah.
You know, and you rarely see the crack of an arse there now. And
Did he bite into feces? TL Hopper. Was that... am I misremembering?
No, but he wore a shit-stained vest.
Okay, that's what it was.
I don't know, maybe he did bite.
I thought there was like he
They did their thing with him trying to retrieve a turd from someone's swimming pool. I forget who it was. Undoubtedly, it was filmed in Vince's house. But they brought in all these guys that were basically supposed to be, you know, they were so lacking on talent. And then Jim Cornette, who's, you know, he was running Smoky Mountain. He's going, this could be a way to get a lot of guys in. Get him in on this very like.
Oh, Dirty White Boy was a big thing for Cornette and Smoky
Dirty White Boy was Tony Anthony, who became TL Hopper. A guy, if you look at him, like he is not someone Vince McMahon is going to push. And I think Jim Cornette was aware of that. That a lot of guys that he was giving him, he's like, this could turn into something for you, but you are straight up not anyone that Vince McMahon is going to see as a star.
Tracy Smothers,
unfortunately, who I actually in that era fucking like when he came in, I was like, this guy is class in the ring, and he was. It's fucking Tracy Smothers. They rebranded him as Freddie Joe Floyd. He didn't have a long run, not because the gimmicks. He had a fun program with Bradshaw, Justin Hawk Bradshaw as he was back then, and then I think he was just like Tracy Smothers has been Tracy Smothers, and he shit talked the Undertaker one day backstage. Yeah, he said something real smart to him. I can't remember what it was. It's something real tasty. It's gonna be what he said. He was just taking a piss. He was shooting the shit like, and it didn't go down too smooth. So like Tracy Smothers didn't have a long run, but conversely, like the Headbangers were brought in as part of that scheme as well. Well, like they had a fucking a comparatively great run in terms of anyone else.
Look at like what he went through to get that. Who was it? Mosh. Was it Mosh or Trasher?
Well, man,
beaver cleavage or
Chaz Warrington. Mosh is his most successful gimmick. Keep in mind the Headbangers came in as the Headbangers, then they reverted to the Flying Nuns, which were managed by there was the Flying Nuns, and then there was also the Sisters of Love.
Wasn't he?
So like this is a gimmick that they give two young, very capable wrestlers who are kind of hot on the independent scene. They decide to make them wrestling nuns, not a female tag team.
But is that like one like Shotgun Saturday?
They did a couple of shotguns as the nuns. They did it like in the middle of the Headbangers run, kind of as a gag at some point. You know, they do that sometimes where they like get a wrestler to bring back their old shit gimmick as kind of a bit of a gag, like the Blue Blazer, you know, and it always turns out really well. But I think they did that for the Headbangers on like one of the earlier Shotgun Saturday nights. But they did debut them a couple of times as the nuns. They wanted kind of a faction at one point with
He was with D'Lo at one stage, wasn't he, Chaz? They were like, they had like fucking turbans on or something, or
you and D'Lo are gonna put on those fucking turbans. that was Vince McMahon said to him. Where Chaz Mosh came up to Vince and he was like, like neither of us are like, you know, we're not Muslim, we're not like fucking Asian, we're just like a white guy and a fucking mixed race guy. And then that's what Vince chewed him out. You and D'Lo are gonna put on those fucking turbans and you're gonna like it. And that's apparently what happened. He got saddled with so many bad gimmicks. The cherry on top with those gimmicks is Beaver Cleavage, which debuted in 1999 in the fucking peak of the Attitude Era. That Attitude Era, which we're always led to believe is like cutting edge, like, you know, it's equivalent to like the grunge movement. It was alternative wrestling. And in the middle of it, Vince McMahon, who one of Vince's favorite things, and always has been, is kind of anachronistic 1950s gimmicks. Effectively, the kind of cartoons and the family shows that Vince watched in his fucking trailer park in North Carolina growing up as a child. He's always had a hard-on for a Mighty Mouse character, which he tried to put on Pac. And then also, like, even when Pac debuted as Neville,
he had the cape and
shit. He was like, oh, well, like, you know, they managed to talk him out of not fucking, you know, you know, literally calling him Mighty Mouse or something, but they still put the cape on him. And then, obviously, then like Leave It to Beaver was a big show, and Chaz Warrington got put in this weird fucking like 1950s gimmick where he had a mother character who was his manager,
who he wanted to bang.
But then there was a domestic abuse storyline within that.
He was beating his mother.
He was beating his mother. Yeah, and they kind of scrubbed it then, and like, yeah, it was
fucking stupid. Like like Paul Burchill, what he did to Paul Burchill and like Katie Lee Burchill and the implied incest between the brother and sister.
He's always had a thing for an incest angle.
Like, he's pitched it with Stephanie.
Famously with his own daughter, yeah.
Fucking nonsense.
Look, you know,
Paul Burchill himself, he comes in as a fucking pirate. Well, he doesn't come in as a pirate. He eventually transcends into a pirate.
He becomes a pirate because I think he saw the value in, like, and people have done that with Vince. They go, look, you know, they come up with a cartoonish gimmick and they pitch it to him because they realise that the cartoonish gimmick might get them more airtime, more of a push. You know, like Nikki Cross did it a couple of years ago with her superhero gimmick.
I hate superhero gimmicks as well.
The
Hurricane, I think, is the only one.
The Hurricane is the most successful one, isn't it? Like, that really was so tongue-in-cheek as well.
Like, Eric Young didn't work for me.
It really didn't.
Super Eric.
I wasn't mad at Mighty Molly because I'm a fucking curmudgeon. But I wasn't. It was kind of lame. Hurricane was good because Shane Helms is a great performer. He was a great performer in any gimmick.
Is that what it is, though? Like, is it like you have to be a great performer to pull off a shit gimmick? Because, like, so many great performers have been saddled with shit.
Yeah,
gimmick. Like, you look at Kane, and he was Fake Diesel, who we mentioned before. He was a fucking evil dentist in Isaac Yankem.
But the dentist thing can work if you're like Britt Baker, who's an actual dentist, and her gimmick, a strong part of her gimmick is dentistry. And her livelihood.
Is it though? Like,
and it works so well, but also like she brings it into her finisher. She had this great fucking that gimmick match that they did with her in Red Velvet, where it was in like the dentist surgery. It can work if it comes from an authentic place, and it's, you know, it's the same way like the Undertaker would not, like, the Undertaker would be probably talked about in these terms if they had got anyone other than Mark Calloway, who just fit that gimmick like a glove. But if they had handed that to Dustin Rhodes at that time, or they who else was coming in 1990, you know, like
Gobbledygooker.
Yeah, or like
Hector Guerrero.
It was Hector Guerrero, or it was Brad Armstrong, or it was fucking even a returning Barry Windham. The Undertaker wouldn't have worked quite as well. And then you've also, you know, to bring in Percy Pringle, who was a mortician. How perfect is that? And that really helps the authenticity of these parts. And I think authenticity is a thing that really helps gimmicks that are even a little bit far out in wrestling terms. That at least the suspension of disbelief isn't so big. I mean, when it came to Shane Helms, and he realised, he comes in 2001, and he realises he's going to get maybe lost in the shuffle because there's all these invasion guys, and he's a little bit smaller. And he really cottoned on to, like, the fact that he came in with a big ass Green Lantern tattoo on him really helped him.
Imagine Braun Strowman, though. He had the Superman S tattooed on him. He's coming out as fucking Superman.
That would have been bad.
Let's kind of have a look back at, say, the really the shit of the shit, because I think we were kind of getting into
what do you think is, like, what for you is number one with a bullet, the worst one that you've ever encountered?
Like, retrospectively, you'd have to say the Gobbledygooker.
Yeah,
but
that would be in there.
But, like, living it at the time, I remember, and maybe it's not like the worst ever, but I remember when Brodus Clay debuted the Funkasaurus gimmick. He's just a big fat guy who dances after building him up as a fucking beast.
Did you not think Funk was on a roll, no?
No, I did not. Using Ernest the Cat Miller's fucking entrance song.
Banger entrance music.
Yeah, but, like, it's the recycling.
It was the same thing with Flash Funk when, like, Too Cold Scorpio debuted as this, again, really, like, backwards, you know, fucking, like, blaxploitation tinged character, which would have probably...
Dolomite stuff.
Yeah, like, I was like... But at that time, so you're going into the Attitude Era. It's like you just went for this kind of like Huggy Bear fucking pimp Dolomite fucking type character. It's like you could have just done it like. What if he came in rocking this kind of like vaguely like Shaft gimmick? Yeah. That's way cooler. It's got way more edge to it. It's way more in line with one of the most successful wrestlers who's coming from ECW. Yeah, you want to do something a little bit anachronistic, fucking, you know, something that's not of this time and it's a bit of a throwback. Yeah, do fucking Shaft. Shaft is cool in any fucking era.
Then they threw him in the Job Squad.
And then they threw him in the Job Squad.
Like the fucking Job Squad. I was looking at a video there recently of Quang.
An awful gimmick.
Truly. It's a Puerto Rican guy.
We're just going to talk.
Doing karate.
we're going to talk. Everything we're going to talk about is probably going to come from like a 3 to 4 year period in the mid 90s.
Aldo Montoya.
He wore like, what's his gimmick? Now that
He's
again,
Portuguese.
Fucking PJ Palaco comes in again for his meeting with Vince. Tell me about yourself, and he's like, "Oh well, my family are from Portugal," and okay, the Portuguese man of war. And then like he gets which isn't terrible. It's like, okay, in terms of ethnic gimmicks, okay, we've never really had a Portuguese guy.
I do hate ethnic gimmicks.
I hate the bad ones. They put a fucking jockstrap on this man's head. Portuguese people are cool. Portugal's a cool country. He's wearing a jockstrap on his head. Like, he was doomed from the fucking start. I felt bad for him. Worst gimmick for me, like flat out. Early days of TNA.
Cheeks.
The dicks.
They came into WWF.
Did he come in as the dicks, or were they actually Gemini?
No, they were Gemini.
Gemini were the dicks.
I think so.
I remember like reading fucking Power Slam in like 2002 when TNA debuted, and I was like, finally, there's a new promotion. Great. I can't wait to read about what they're up to, and hopefully I'll be able to see their shows someday. And they had a load of cool guys that had left WWF that weren't involved in the invasion, and WWF was really cooling down in 2002 because they'd fucked every aspect of WCW and NWO, and I was so sick of this shit, and I was excited for TNA. And then I saw on the first fucking TNA pay-per-view, I think it was one of the first ones. It was one of the first ones anyway.
That a big fat guy called Cheeks that nearly broke the ring.
The gimmick, and otherwise, like, there was no complexity to this gimmick. The gimmick was just two wrestling dicks in bodysuits. They were just supposed to be wrestling penises.
Russo's involved though, so of course that was the case.
It was so Russo. I mean, I know, like, I know Joey Ryan's a very cancelled man. Ironically, the dick plate-based wrestler is cancelled, whose entire gimmick was vaguely sexual assault. But at least when he was doing a gimmick that was built around his penis, there was like a little bit of fun, and there was various things you could do with it. These two guys were just dressed up to look like actual fucking giant schlongs, and they're having wrestling matches with people. That's the low point for me. I don't think you can get any lower than that, but I know we probably will.
Yeah, but like,
no, that's the baseline for me.
Yeah, but like, looking at, say, is there someone that you were excited about coming that they just completely like missed the mark?
Fucking Kazarni.
Yeah,
they ran like 5 years of vignettes for him, and it was so cool and so ominous, and it had that, like, again, it was like before Bray Wyatt, it was like this weird mix of, like, it was like fucking, it's a little bit Jake Roberts, it's a little bit Oddities, it's a little bit Waylon Mercy. It's a weird fucking creep who works at the carnival.
He got like 2 SmackDowns.
Yeah, I think they hated his in-ring work.
Yeah,
I don't even know if that's the case. If maybe he was annoying backstage, who fucking knows? I was excited by Mordecai. Mordecai on paper,
but that's not a bad gimmick.
That was a really good
And
gimmick.
speaking of flying nuns, I think like righteous priests would be a fucking great tag team.
2 wrestling priests.
2 wrestling righteous wrestling like priests.
Like, here's the thing, right? It's how it's booked and it's the presentation. Like in 1993, they brought in Mike Shaw as Friar Ferguson initially, who was a wrestling friar, kind of this Friar Tuck type gimmick. Completely. But like, if he was part of this kind of Robin Hood tinged stable, you'd go, this is fucking cool. Actually, that's an idea for someone if they want to do it. Yeah. Some kind of Robin Hood stable. Bunch of men who wear tights, live in the woods, have a fucking whale of a time.
We're men.
And kind of raid places. But like he came in that gimmick, but it was like, it just felt a bit medieval or something.
There was no nuance to it.
There was no nuance to it. But if you do this kind of, if you were hypothetically to rock this kind of like 2 priests debut as a tag team, but you do it as this kind of Blues Brothers type gimmick where like the fucking, the community hall, is going to be knocked down, or
Devon
did,
Reverend Devon. Devon and Deacon Batista.
I will say another low-key banger entrance team.
Yeah.
Devon's us. Yeah, I suppose Devon did kind of do the wrestling priest gimmick. And obviously the original idea, I'm sorry, this is not flooding into me now, like, it's been done. But Devon, it's hard with Devon because he's a Dudley. So it feels like, why is he shifting careers in the middle of his very successful wrestling career?
Dudleyville Community Hall.
But again, that came from, look, they wanted to try them out solo. And again, it's like Vince going, what do you got, pal? And he's like, well, I'm from a family.
He actually, I think,
my dad was a preacher. In fairness, the DNA of that gimmick was in, Devon as a Dudley always had elements of like a preacher. He would
brother love.
He would quote Bible verse at times. Testify was obviously his main catchphrase. So it didn't feel like a complete sea change when he rocked back in as brother Devon. But it was still like, he's going around to confession plate, man. You know, you're one of the hottest acts of the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
You don't need that confession money.
Yeah, well, like, I think he fucking... didn't he used to, like, keep all the money himself so that, like...
For real, yeah.
he
And
legit-
people would be thrown into the fucking collection plate and they'd be going, yeah, here's, like, marks.
He'd legit
And
keep
this
it.
this wrestler making a good wage. Look, fuck it, I'd probably pay for some money on the road. I'd say Dave Bautista was happy with it. Dave Bautista was basically a heavy for a priest. That was how
Brother
he
Love,
debuted.
another priest.
Brother
Somewhat.
Love was more based. Oh, that's really those kind of evangelical
yeah.
kind of scam artist Billy Graham, not the wrestler Billy Graham, the evangelist fucking scam artist
think it was
Billy
a good
Graham.
gimmick.
That was a good gimmick. That was weirdly wasted on someone who had fuck all of a managerial career and no wrestling career, and didn't really. I mean, it was a fun character to a degree. It was a fun character as much as you can tolerate Bruce Pritchard's voice, but like. It didn't have any legs in terms of being a managerial force, like say some of the gimmicked managers, for example. Like Fuji was a little bit of a, you know, his gimmick as a manager, as a wrestler was, I hate America and I want to take Americans down. And that kind of worked when he moved from being a wrestler into being a manager, because you're like, oh yeah, that's the kind of, it's the sneaky Japanese heel fucking stereotype, but it had a little bit of a motivation to it.
Band gimmicks.
Has there ever been a good one?
No.
I've soft spot for 3MB. I have a
Three count.
Tree Count, which on paper is actually a pretty fun gimmick. It's a wrestling boy band. This was at the height of like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. That wasn't a bad gimmick. And
Shane Helms, Evan Courageous,
Shannon
Shannon
Moore.
Moore. Yeah.
Three good wrestlers to debut. That's not the worst one, I don't think. 3MB was again soft spot because of the dudes involved.
Really? I hated 3MB.
Heath Slater could make fucking anything work in that era, and it was a terrible gimmick. Like that was one of the most egregious examples of there's no thought here. Like, okay, Heath Slater's always had a vaguely like southern rock vibe to him that you can work with. How the fuck are you sticking Jinder Mahal in there?
That's why I was like, what the fuck?
Drew McIntyre as like the world's most, his gimmick up until then was world's most dour Scotsman. Which he effectively plays now, but with a lot more like, you know, character and nuance and depth and presence and charisma. He's got it down. Whereas back then, Drew, as much potential as Drew had, it was just like he's just throwing faces and he's giving dour fucking, and then all of a sudden he's doing like fucking air guitar.
They look like three absolute douchebags.
You wouldn't need someone who's kind of musically proficient.
Boogs, throw Boogs in there. Before Boogs was a thing.
Boogs outside his welcome probably, but for a while it wasn't too bad. Elias is a successful one.
He's not a band though. Like I would classify like the bands.
Oh, okay. So
in like
straight musician he was.
Not Key. Fucking Man Mountain Rock. Like another.
He cropped up on my suggested friends on Facebook. Shout out to you, Daryl Peterson. I will add you soon.
You should add him now.
You know what happens weirdly on Facebook where like random wrestlers and you know their government names come up and you're like, is that? And then you're clicking through and you're like, oh yeah,
it's Man Mountain Rock.
It was Man Mountain Rock, Max Payne, aka Max Payne. Yeah,
but no, I would classify country singers almost differently because you have Jeff Jarrett in there.
Jarrett's gimmick was great. I definitely outstayed its welcome as a gimmick for him. Honky Tonk was great at the time. That stuff was gold. Who else had, like, I mean, these are the solo artists. I mean, Road Dogg and subsequently Ron Killings when he came in and was paired with Road Dogg, you're going, okay, like, Road Dogg always had a bit of a fucking hillbilly hip hop thing to him. And then they bring in this legitimate, like, fucking rapper and hip hop artist in Ron Killings as K-Quick initially. And that felt really legit because this guy was rapping down on his way down to the ring and he was great to watch and he could rap, which he still can. So like, I mean, in terms of like the hip hop thing, Killings is very successful in that like legitimate way. Cena is obviously the most successful one, but he wasn't that before, you know what I mean? Like that was just the thing he could do. And then his rap career, and as much as we can call it that, was a byproduct of him just having adopted that gimmick.
What makes it like a really good gimmick though?
That thing, like it is. I do think so much of it is authenticity, and
because like you look at Shark Boy, like Shark Boy shouldn't have worked for as long as it worked, and it becomes Stone Cold Shark Boy, and you're like going,
yeah,
this is fucking stupid. But like he was
over.
Fun.
It was the same Christopher Daniels as Curry Man. It's like they're kind of weird gimmicks. I mean, Blue Meanie is one that shouldn't have worked, but like it's based on obscure villainous characters from a fucking 60s animated movie, the Beatles. I'm not like I say that as if it's an obscure film. It's Yellow Submarine about the Beatles, so it's not that obscure. But like in the mid 90s, that wouldn't have been. People wouldn't have been looking at that going, the Blue Meanie.
But why does like something so stupid and cartoonish work for some people and not for others?
I think stupid works. I fucking love that devil who spins the fucking pizzas around. What's his name?
Luigi Primo.
Luigi Primo. Like that's fun. It's got a shelf.
But Mr. Iguana.
Mr. Iguana is like...
Is it commitment to the character? Like, why didn't Tensai work and fucking...
Because they're not fun. They're fucking racist. You know what I mean? They're like...
But, like, certain stuff aren't... Like, Kane isn't really... I suppose he is funny. He looked like fire.
He had a bit of humour to him at times.
Yeah, but
he was good. He was good when he was... But, like, Kane worked because, like, that was the best version of... We're talking about gimmicks that fucking worked here rather than the shit ones. I don't think Kane could have been shit because... It could have been shit probably with the wrong performer. But the fundamentals of that gimmick are, effectively, what if Michael Myers was a wrestler?
But that's Undertaker as well.
What if Jason Voorhees was a wrestler and also the Undertaker's brother? That's gold. And it was. And that's why that character sustained for as long as it did. A wrestling turkey... doesn't quite have the same flair as a wrestling fucking Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers. You know what I mean?
What about dancing gimmicks?
What's been a good wrestling? Hey, Morrow, what's a good wrestler dancing gimmick? Apart from
Disco Inferno.
Disco Inferno had a degree of shelf life. Overstayed its welcome.
Kozlov, Kali, fucking...
But that comes back to like that's
Tensai.
Well, also this comes back to like the very first thing we started with was the Oddities, right?
Yeah.
And the reason the Oddities started off as this dark, fucking ominous gimmick led by Luna Vachon. The reason they had to turn face so quickly was they got over, but they didn't turn face because they were over. They turned face because apparently I forget who it was. It was Don Callis maybe? But basically, it was the WrestleMania after party, and Corgan gets up and he's having a bop on the dance floor. At the company party with his wife, and Don Callis is going, and this was when he was in the True Commission at this time, and Don Callis was going to him, "You get off that fucking dance floor, because if Vince McMahon sees you dancing, you're fucking done for." So like this idea then of bringing in the Oddities is this kind of dark kind of like freak show gimmick. It fell apart so quickly because Vince was like, "That guy can dance, can't he? I saw him dance at the WrestleMania after party," and then the guy's fucking dancing. And he's a thing for big men dancing. Tensai, man, Matt Bloom like had one of the hottest fucking
New Japan runs.
New Japan fucking gaijin fucking runs, and then he comes back as Tensai and then gets turned into the hippopotamus.
So it was something that was amazing over in fucking Japan and also in
Dancing
ECW.
gimmicks in Japan.
No, well, Mike Awesome. When he becomes fucking...
The fat chick thriller?
That 70s
thriller guy?
And that 70s guy. Like, what the fuck? Who the fuck thinks of that and goes, you know what? That's going to get this guy over.
Victor, we need a wrestler. We need a guy who's really fucking hot, who's one of the best wrestlers in the world, who's a top star in someone else's promotion. We need someone like that we can come in and build the new WCW around. And Vince Russo looks at Mike Awesome and goes... That 70s guy. And that's what he fucking did. Mike Awesome, I'm not saying Mike Awesome entirely would have turned around WCW's fortunes, but he would have been a massive asset.
Why didn't it work for him in WWE then? Was that a thing with Taker?
This is also a thing, Shane, sometimes when it comes to bad gimmicks, and it's why, we talk about like Chris Jericho dodging a bullet as the Goon. The stink is so bad that some performers, no matter how talented they are, cannot shake off.
Muhammad Hassan couldn't do it. He left the whole fucking industry. But that
was a stinky gimmick.
That was a great gimmick. It went absurd.
It just unfortunately fell apart because too many people were fucking throwing jihad out left, right, and centre.
Well, it went absurd though. That's what I'm saying.
The temperature wasn't right for it.
It didn't need that kind of terroristic nature of it because this whole fucking thing was, I'm not a terrorist.
No, I'm a really articulate, well-spoken Arab American who's been treated like shit for the past 4 years.
Since
Italian. 9/11. And he was actually Italian.
Yeah.
Which was a surprise. I mean, he pulled it off. Him and Davari, my favourite Davari.
Yeah, sorry, Ari Davari.
I know I do like Ari. I'm only messing if he happens to be listening in.
Let's look back at let's start just naming shit ones.
I think we've named most of the shit ones. What ones have we like? Bad gimmicks that weren't salvageable that never got over. What I will say is, we talk about shit gimmicks. You can fucking slate Disco Inferno all you want. That was over for a fucking stretch.
I like Disco Inferno.
It was over.
Yeah.
Most of those musician gimmicks that we talked about, Honky Tonk was over. Jarrett's country music gimmick was over for a while. 3MB are held in kind of fond affection now.
For you, not for me.
For me, definitely.
What about Fantasia?
On paper, not a bad gimmick.
He looked good.
He looked good.
He looked like Sting before Sting.
A wrestling magician.
Fucking perfect.
That can work. I mean, fucking like you look at the Undertaker, wrestling zombie mortician, fucking craftsman. Like that worked as out there as it was. We're not saying weird, odd gimmicks can't work. A wrestling magician is one of those things where you go, okay, with the right person, that'll work. Your man who played him, Harry Del Rios, he had a good run in the USWA because he looked great. Like, the dude was muscly as fuck. He was able to, like, pull off lads' fucking jocks mid-match.
Pull shit out of his mouth.
He could do the magic tricks.
Yeah.
The problem, Vince loved it. Vince hopped on him straight away. Vince had him fucking imported up from fucking USWA because he saw money in him. And then as soon as the dude wrestled, it was like, oh... This man literally cannot wrestle for sport.
He gets like thrown in bad gimmicks, and I was like, that's a pretty fucking good gimmick. That isn't like hole-in-one Barry Darsow. That's fucking like
is that the golf gimmick to give Barry Darsow?
fucking Kerwin White.
Kerwin White. Chavo,
Oh my god!
for anyone who doesn't know about Kerwin White, Chavo Guerrero, in the midst of what was a very successful run for him in WWE, they decided to make him into a man who identified as a white person.
Came out to like old 50s music.
Old, like Frank Sinatra. Suburban dad vibes, wearing a golf getup. He had a caddy who was played by Dolph Ziggler, before, that man really never...
Before Suicide Squad. Or the Spirit Squad.
I wish it was the Suicide Squad.
Uh-huh.
Spirit Squad, again, was kind of a terrible gimmick on paper, actually. Like, wrestling cheerleaders, male cheerleaders, not the cool ones like the Nitro Girls, but male wrestling cheerleaders that actually kind of got over and served a purpose for a short amount of time. Won the tag titles, could bump like fuck for veterans.
For DX.
DX, yeah.
Mainly DX.
I think they lost the tag titles though to Roddy Piper and Ric Flair, didn't they?
They did.
So yeah, veterans.
So it was mainly like they were brought in like...
They were lackeys for Vince and Shane for whatever reason. Not a great gimmick. Didn't have a massive shelf life. They got sent back down to, like, literally that was how they were written off television. They were all thrown into a giant box that said like
OVW.
Sent back down to OVW, which happened to most of them. But it had a bit of a run. What are fucking... I mean, I can't think of anything that's worse than the wrestling penises.
Who's the riverboat fucking gambler guy in WCW?
What the... Oh! This is familiar.
Was he called the Gambler?
Maybe it's the Gambler. Who was that?
I have no idea.
Morrow, you on the stats there?
Morrow isn't in on this podcast because he came late and I'm not reframing the camera.
You didn't notice the camera's very tight on John's face.
It is.
His name was Jeffrey Gann.
Jeffrey Gann. Do you know? Does that ring a bell for you?
Not even fucking slightly.
But his ring name is Jeff Gamble.
Jeff Gamble. Well, there you go.
Then that's why he's the gambler.
Did he have a manager that was someone with a bit of a name?
Buddy Lee Parker.
Well, he's probably Buddy Lee Parker, or not Buddy Lee Parker. Who's the other one? The guy who managed Jeff Jarrett for a while. Tennessee Lee.
Ah, right.
Robert Parker.
Yeah.
Was that Robert?
No,
Parker? Colonel Parker.
Colonel Parker. Yeah.
Colonel Robert Parker. Yeah, there you go.
What about? Well, I think we've touched upon this in our New Generation podcast, but any gimmick that's just put new ahead of the name of the
new Blackjacks, new Rockers, new Midnight Express, new Rock and Roll Express. Yeah, unless you're doing something really innovative with it. Like we're talking about the idea of repurposing gimmicks, which can be done mostly with mass gimmicks. But like if you're going to do a new version of a classic thing, you want an upgrade of some sort, and you want to be able to like. We're in the era of like so many reboots and reimaginings.
Tell me that Animal and Heidenreich weren't an upgrade on Hawk and Animal.
They weren't an upgrade. They were a downgrade, but I don't think they were like an egregious downgrade.
It was an upgrade on Heidenreich reading poetry, sexually assaulting Michael Cole.
He had an imaginary friend and he used to go around backstage raping men. That was his gimmick for a while.
It was.
Like they were doing him a fucking Mercy, putting him in LOD. They weren't doing LOD in Mercy, but it was a nice kind of post-Hawk dying nostalgia run. It gave Animal the belts again. Heidenreich looked kind of badass in the gear.
I thought he looked stupid.
I thought he looked kind of badass in the gear.
If he actually had LOD gear on, he just had his hiding right gear on with a.
No, he didn't. He had a white version of it.
Yeah, a white version, and the face paint, but he didn't have like the tights and shit. That's why I was.
Yeah, but sure, it was a different time. That upgraded.
Those tag teams, maybe it was a bit before the time, but like Deuce and Domino, going back to the 50s again.
Again, another Vince McMahon 50s throwback gimmick. Like they got that a little bit over. They had the tag team titles for a while. Their manager Cherry was kind of over. Not the worst throwback gimmick. Like, I mean, it beats the fuck out of Beaver Cleavage and Mighty Mouse fucking Neville.
Couple of greasers.
A couple of greasers. Like, again, it would have been a really fucking hot act probably in the early 90s, late 80s. It wasn't ideal for like 2006 or whenever they debuted.
That's what, like,
particularly because at that time as well, it's like, I mean, maybe there were nice contrasts, but like, hey, we've just got an M&M, which was just a state-of-the-art fucking contemporary, like, reality TV show tinged fucking Hollywood entitled brat type character.
Great fucking entrance.
Great entrance that hadn't really been done before. Melina with the splits, you know, everybody knows that. It was over like that. Like the two boys were fantastic. They had like, you know, the fur coats. That was a real like of its time on the edge of the culture type of gimmick. And then you got these two boys rocking around in fucking you know, eating Eddie Rockets and fucking hanging out in the back of the fucking Chevy.
So many like Attitude Era gimmicks shouldn't have worked. Like Val Venus wouldn't work. No, well, not Sean Morley, but like Val Venus said in this time,
wrestling porn star only would have worked in that particular time.
Wrestling Pimp,
it did. Wrestling Pimp worked very well in that particular time. It wouldn't have worked in any other era, I don't think. And it was played by the right dude, who again had a couple of swings at, you know, potentially good gimmicks. Wrestling Voodoo Doctor is a fucking baller gimmick.
That was a class gimmick, and it got voted like the worst gimmick of the year in what, 92?
It was the right gimmick and the right dude, but the execution was just so fucking bad. But I was glad that he went from being a Voodoo Doctor to being a pimp.
Yeah,
who actually was kind of he was nice to his girls,
and he did
not a mean pimp,
and he did it like a MMA along the way, and joined the militant.
That was just a rip off. Like that's that thing that they do sometimes where they like rip off like a character that's. I suppose Disco Inferno is effectively that as well. Like it's like, oh, it's Tony Manero, and also Rob Van Dam. To be fair, really traded off
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
He really traded off Jean-Claude Van Damme. But who was I talking about there? It's after going in my head. Who was the person that was? Sorry,
Charles Wright.
Yeah, Charles Wright doing like it was effectively fucking what's his name? Kimbo Slice.
Yeah, I think so.
Or Chemo.
What was it? It wasn't Kimbo Slice.
Not Kimbo Slice. Chemo. Was it? What's the name of that UFC guy from the fucking mid-90s?
Well, he was a bit later, I think.
No, Kimbo Slice was a lot later, but
no, but the other guy.
I know who you're talking about.
He was the guy who looked just like. They basically took his look and they transplanted it onto Charles Wright in 1995. Chemo.
Yeah, something like that.
Someone will tell us in the comments.
Yeah, let us
Absolutely
know.
fucked that. But that thing of like making a wrestler look like some kind of pop culture character, or because somebody Sting
as Crow.
Yeah, but there was
it should. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't have worked because it's such a it's a blatant
would have worked.
It's a blatant rip off of a pop culture thing, and he did it again after The Dark Knight, and he becomes Joker's thing, and people have reverence for that, and I thought it was kind of stupid.
Yeah. At least he wasn't being called like Crow. Joe Crow. It's Joe Crow.
Was it Jim Herd that tried to bring in the Hunchbacks?
Man,
and the Ding Dongs?
That early 90s WCW run, you have a wrestling literal Wizard of Oz who comes down to the ring with munchkins. You have
Kevin Nash.
Wrestling Beetlejuice, who was just called the Juicer, who was played by Art Barr, who was Eddie Guerrero's tag team partner in
Los Gringos Locos.
Los Gringos Locos. Horrible gimmick. You had one Arachnaman, Brad Armstrong, who also got saddled with the Battle Cat gimmick in WWF in 1990, which stayed around very briefly. What if a man was good at martial arts but also a cat?
Johnny B. Bad. He was quite good.
Johnny B. Bad was over, and that gimmick worked. Like that's why Mark Merrow got the first ever guaranteed contract in WWF history in 1996, because that's how much Vince loves fucking 1950s ephemera and fucking culture. And he saw this guy in WCW, the only person in WCW he went out of his way to get, where he was like, that guy is doing a fucking Little Richard gimmick.
Bring him in. As a Marvel,
And it's not Johnny Be Good like the song, it's Johnny Be Bad.
I like that gimmick.
Vince couldn't sign him quick enough, and then found out with disappointment that WCW owned the gimmick, so he couldn't use it.
So
But-
did he come in as Marvelous and then became Wildcat?
No, he came in as Wildcat
And then became
and
Marvelous.
became Marvelous, which was, again, trading off Mark Merrow's real-life boxing pedigree.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's, like, there's a lot of those early 90s ones. Was that the time as well where, like, they tried to bring in Harlem Heat as effectively slaves for Colonel Robert Parker?
I think so, yeah. And then
Shocking.
they got heat for that.
Yeah, that's in fucking, like... that wouldn't have been the most racially sensitive time either. So, like, it shows how bad that gimmick was.
Natalia and her farting gimmick. Do you remember that?
At least she wasn't brought in as a farter. She was brought in as a fucking third generation member of the fucking Hart family.
Yeah, she wasn't
Like,
brought in
it
as
was a
Bastian Booger.
I mean, that's a different thing. It's like when they get, it's like giving people weird little like character traits. She farts. Goldust has a stutter now, Bubba Ray has a stutter. Goldust has Tourette syndrome.
Kane needed a voice box
Kane needed a voice.
to humanize him. Not anymore.
Look, for as long as wrestling is around, there's going to be bad gimmicks. I think what's been really fun in the last 10 years is that because everybody's so hyper aware of the amount of wrestling that's around in wrestling history, and everything's a little bit more kind of meta and postmodern, that we are getting like fun, vaguely self-referential gimmicks, but that ones that also work in kayfabe, which I think is why your Orange Cassidy's work.
Stephen Flo.
Stephen Flo, Blue Cane,
Cocaine.
Cocaine, again, the fucking devil with the pizzas. I can't get enough of them.
Luigi Primo. I think there's so much more to cover, but I'm acutely aware of a wrestling booker in the room with us, Morrow.
Morrow's ready to book.
He's ready to book. We're going to sit down and help him book Total Extreme Morrow because he was in the shits on his own until I gave him the idea to run a tournament, and it is true. And you never fucking called it out on the fucking podcast. You were like, "Oh, Shane's going to be snapping." No, Shane gave you the ideas. He laid it out for you.
Can we finish this episode with just a question for the two of you?
Yeah, Morrow, shout.
Pick one occupational gimmick that hasn't been done that you would cherry pick as a wrestling gimmick.
Cash and carry.
Just to be clear, this is two boys who work in a cash and carry, and they're a tag team called Cash and Carry. Shane, what's your one?
Telephone operator. I'll put your call through, sir. Do you have your 3-digit PIN number? What?
That'd be a very infuriating gimmick. I don't know. Like, has anyone done like a wrestling tour guide? Like
Wrestling tour guide.
Every city that they're in, they just spout out useless facts and trivia and bring people for walks.
And wrestle.
Then wrestle on historical sites.
It would work. Like, it mightn't work, though. That's the thing with wrestling occupations.
IRS
IRS worked.
Yeah, because I don't know. Like, I don't know how that worked with Mike Rotundo. I don't know what his background is in being a fucking tax man. He's probably had to file his own tax return. Maybe that's enough. But I think one conclusion that we have come to with this is that the best gimmicks, as outlandish as they may be, even if they're shit on paper, they can be pulled off by the right people, and particularly people who can bring a little bit of authenticity to them.
Who could have pulled off the stalker?
Oh man, I mean that would have been a good kind of fucking Scott Levy gimmick if he wasn't doing Raven. Yeah, I mean, actually, Stevie Richards, on that note, could have done a very good version of it as well. The Stalker was, on paper, not the worst gimmick, but given to the most fucking washed up, didn't give a fuck version of Barry Windham, who just wanted to be Barry Windham. You know what I mean? So yeah, there are so many like great gimmicks that we've seen over the years that have been wasted. You know, you've got people getting maybe shit gimmicks over, people have been sank by bad gimmicks, but then you've got like gimmicks that would have been fucking great,
like Waylon Mercy,
right person,
on Dan Spivey.
Right person, right gimmick, wrong time.
Right.
10 years earlier or 10 years later, that man would be a fucking multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
Let
us know your worst gimmicks. Maybe something that you were looking forward to. Maybe it's Adam Rose and the Rosebuds. Is it Adam Rose?
What was that gimmick?
He was just he was literally
Man who was good at fucking throwing parties.
No, he was what's his name? That fucking
Leo Kruger.
Yeah, but he's that fucking Russell Brand. He was Russell Brand.
Oh, Russell Brand. Oh my god, his gimmick. I was actually jokingly gonna say like his gimmick was like a person who fucking deals in date rape drugs.
Yeah.
So actually that's pretty accurate for fucking Russell Brand. He had a good gimmick before that as well. He was like a cool kind of South African hunter. Yeah. And he had this whole kind of game hunter gimmick that was going on down in NXT. And then they turned him into fucking Russell Brand.
What comedian would you like to see a wrestler copy?
Like,
give us a Mitch Hedberg wrestler.
But didn't someone do like wasn't someone doing a fucking kind of Andrew Dice Clay type gimmick for a while? What else was
Booker T kind of dressed like Eddie Murphy in Eddie Murphy Delirious.
Stand-up comedian as a gimmick, that what, and it would have been the ideal person really for it to happen, but that was what Cole Cabana wanted his WWE gimmick to be. They kind of tried a couple of versions of it in the 2 weeks that they had him on television, and then they just gave up hope.
That was a weird time as well.
I mean, that would have been a great gimmick for him. You know, he was doing the whole, like, he brought back the inset box that he's doing promos in, but then he's interacting with what he's doing as he's coming down to the ring. Yeah. That was such a fun bit.
Oh, like even Matt Hardy, like I love when they fuck around with that. Matt Hardy's Matt Facts were always really fun during the V1 era. But let us know some of the gimmicks that we definitely missed out on. There's like millions, I would say, that we haven't brought up. Damien Demento and
that wasn't a bad gimmick.
Yeah, I know, like, but why didn't it work?
Because he wasn't a good wrestler.
Because he fucking sucked. Because he sucked. You know, guys that aren't of the ethnicity playing people of a certain ethnicity. Yeah, like, look at the Orient Express.
That's always going to be kind of bad. Max Moon.
Oh, Max fucking Moon.
Space gimmicks are real bad because you can't find any authenticity in them. Like Max Moon.
Unless you're an astronaut.
His gimmick was a man who came from space to be amongst us. And Chris Statlander tried that a couple of years ago and it really wasn't working out for her.
It did not work for Chris Statlander, did it?
No, it didn't. But look at her now. The world champion.
So you can bounce back from bad gimmicks. You can get the stink off it.
But hers wasn't a stink because she wasn't going, I'm literally an alien. It was just like kind of alien tinged. You know, if you have a hint of a gimmick, that's grand. If you're actually like, I am a humanoid penis or like a humanoid turkey.
At least put a mask on yourself. Before. If it's going to be a shit gimmick, wear a mask at least. Look at Avatar.
Quang.
Sultan. I actually like Sultan.
I like the
idea of Sabu.
There's a gimmick to try to put on Sabu. It could have worked with Sabu.
Would have worked with Sabu. It still could work with.
Yeah, no, actually, I mean, again, that was Sabu's kind of gimmick anyway, and I'm sure WWF would have taken it up a lot more, like Middle Eastern Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, that's that on paper.
His tongue was chopped out
cool.
Until Xbox magically would help him make him talk again.
Cast poor old Rikishi.
He had a few bad gimmicks as well. Remember the
make a difference Fatu?
Yeah.
Because that was because he got shot he got in the crossfire of some like gang feud, and then because of that Vince was like, oh yeah, you'll be like, and Dangerous Minds was really big in the cinema, so it was like, you will rehabilitate young gangsters.
Well, he definitely did not see Dangerous Minds. Vince, no fucking way.
Vince has not seen any films that I'm aware of.
Also, before we go, PN News. He was
that was kind of based on like PM Dawn.
He was the original rapper.
Yeah, that was based on the PM Dawn. Yeah,
and then we got Men on a Mission and all that stuff.
Soft spot for Men on a Mission.
Yeah, well, there you go. That has been the WrestleFan Wrestling Show. Please comment below. Let us know what you think has been one of the worst, shittest gimmicks of all the times. I'm the big beefy boy, Shaz Beef. Oosh. This is Johnny the Beast Mortos. We are the WrestleFan Wrestling Show. Go check out all the other stuff on the channel. A new Bizarre has dropped. Sting and RoboCop. A look back into 1990 WCW. All Elite Morrow, Total Extreme Morrow. Watch Morrow kill the business every Wednesday. And indeed, the current business every Monday night. On the Big Beefy Boy. Stay safe, stay sick. Look.